Hello, welcome to another day where we're going to have our GoToTraining session. Today we're going to discuss and we're going to speak about paperwork as protection. This is part of the DFM 180 class, Project Planning and Development. My name is Professor Christian Hertag, and this is a presentation from Los Angeles Film School. Okay, so let me just move a little bit the screen from GoToTraining at the very bottom on the right hand side. Oops, let's go back. Sorry about that. Okay, so welcome again to the class Project Planning and Development, Paperwork as Protection. My name is Professor Christian Hertag, and I hope you enjoy the following presentation. There are two types of paperwork. The one that you need to be prepared, the preparatory, and the bureaucratic. Okay? The first one, it has to do with the shot list, with all the paperwork that has to do with the schedules, the budget. It also has to do with the organization of the projects, all the logistics, and everything that has to do with the preparation of the filmmakers. The second one, on the other hand, has to do with all the contracts, all the agreements, all the legal documents that needed to be signed. Okay? Let's go ahead to the next page. The bureaucratic forms has a purpose, okay? And it has to do with the sales and distribution of your film. It has to do with the legitimacy, okay, and the accuracy of the agreement that you both are going to sign for. And it also will help to protect your interest and the people that you're going to hire for that production. For that reason, you need to have everything in writing because of liability. Okay? This is now, we're going to move to the next page where we're going to speak about the foundational paperwork. There are many things that you can start doing when you are a new director and you're planning to start working outside of college once you graduate and start making films for you to make a living. One of the first things that you can start doing is um, do some research, of course, online, because in every state is different. But I will strongly suggest you to open a LLC, which is a corporation, a limited liability corporation. I actually have one. Is in many states is different. Florida is different. California is different. Texas is different. So I strongly recommend you to do some research in some of the government websites and get familiar with the requirements and the fees and pretty much the differences between different types of corporations. But the point of creating a corporation is that you're gonna be everything that happens is gonna be through that corporation. Okay, if there's someone who would like to sue you for by any chance for any reason, everything is gonna go through your corporation and it's not gonna be against you and your persona. Okay. When you have an LLC, it's gonna be only liable for corporate assets. Again, it's not gonna be against you and your persona, something personal. Okay. The other thing is that you're gonna file for corporation one project at a time. Okay, that is very important. When you have a corporation, it's gonna also keep you safe because everything has to be in good standing and everything needs to be organized and everything has to be going through attorneys and people who knows about the rights of the content of your project. Okay, so that means that it's gonna be cover any live rights, copyrights, option agreement, and any assignment of deed, copyright release, and assignment of rights. So why do you have to do an LLC again? Because you need to cover yourself not to get sued. You want to make sure you have and you do everything through a corporation, okay? You don't have to start big. You can start little by little. And the LLC is the smallest corporation that you can start off with, okay? Insurance. And I know that some of you are maybe thinking, "Oh my God, I don't need an insurance. I don't have money." But believe me, this this training is so important because from now and on, you will understand how important it is to cover yourself with an insurance. And I'm gonna tell you the reason why. You want to have insurance because you want to protect uh, the overall aspects of your production of your work. Okay, you need to have a production insurance, general liability, okay, non-personal injuries, property damage. There are many things that happens in a film set. Okay, lights can be broken, lights can be fall from the ceiling. There are many things that can happen in a production, and this is the reason why you need to have an insurance. Some people needs to carry some of the equipment in their cars. What if there's an accident on their way to the production? You must have an insurance when it comes to um, having a project under your name, okay? And especially if you have a corporation, that is a most. You need to cover the production period. So that means that, let's say that you are going to produce, or you're gonna finance a feature film that will tell I'm sorry it will tell oh my God, what's going on? It will take you, that's the word, it will take you approximately 2-3 years, and you're going to record in different locations, um, in the states and out of the states. You want to make sure that you are covered. Anything that happens on your way to another country, in the states, outside of the United States, you want to make sure that you are covered, and not only yourself but also the production that is going to come with you. Okay, you also need insurance for your equipment. I have a story when I was a student, and this really happens to me. I I I actually left some of my equipment in my car, thinking that I was living in a good neighborhood, and it was okay because my car was very tint. It was the windows were very dark. I think I put it on purpose that way so nobody can see through through the windows. Um, and of course, that was also my bad because by law you need to have um, certain amount of darkness in your windows. Anyways, I believe at that time, oh, no one is gonna notice the film equipment that I have in my car, and I was so wrong. Um, to make the long story short, the equipment was stolen, and that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that I lost my project. I spent a whole weekend, and before that weekend I spent months of preparation. I have to write a script, I have to hire actors, I have to make rehearsals, I have to buy food for that weekend, I have to spend gas and money to go to all these locations, I have to collect release forms. Imagine all your 2 years working hard to prepare for that one moment where you want to have your first project, and that first project was lost. The good thing was that the university covered the stolen items. but I have to go through a process of many questions, and it was a really delicate situation. I was very scared, and I'm sharing this with you so you guys can learn from my mistakes. Okay, you guys need to cover your equipment. You need to insure your equipment. When people know that you have all these expensive cameras, lights, you need to have an insurance. And I cannot repeat myself enough telling you the same thing. Please cover everything that you're going to take with you in that during that day, or days, or months of production. You also need to have an insurance for workers' compensation. What if someone, I don't know, they fell because there was a little bit of water. You have a scene where there's a swimming pool and someone falls on the floor. You need to have an insurance to cover those type of damages, unless you want to get sued, and I don't think so. So again, that is the importance of having insurance. The same thing if you hire direct employees. Errors and omissions, it is a must for distribution. No one is gonna distribute your production, your actual final project, if you don't have an insurance, because now we're talking about a real business. So you need to be covered. Okay, insurance is gonna prevent you for any lawsuits. And again, this is about you and your production. Cover yourself, your corporation if you create one. And the lawsuits could be about theft of an idea, you know copyright infringement, libel, slander, invasion of privacy, defamation, product disparagement, trade libel, infliction of emotional distress, right of publicity, outrage and outrage conduct, false light, wrongful entry, false arrest, or malicious prosecution. So, in order for you to avoid all these different areas where you can be sued, cover yourself with insurance. And of course, when you speak with the right attorney, they're gonna be able to tell you all the different areas where they can cover you. And of course, an insurance is something that you have to pay while you are involved in this project, unless you want to have a standard insurance where you have to make a payment every month, because you're going to make a living doing short films or film projects or corporate videos. So either I actually know that some of you are doing wedding videos. So if you are in falling in one of these categories, you must have an insurance. Okay? Contracts. So it is important that you have contracts from actors. Again, when you don't have something in writing, it's so easy to get away with murder. If you have screen actors, um, that's what they call the SAG, ZAG actors. You need to have a contract. You need to have a commitment from that talent, either if they are a screen actor guild or a non-union actor, or you have minors in that production. You must have a document that certifies and you have permission to have the image of that individual in that film, because many things can happen. So you need to have the right permission and all the signatures. Especially with minors, make sure that you have the permission of both parents. You don't want to go with one parent unless legally he or she is not in charge or in custody of that child. Okay. The same thing with the crew members above the line, the director, the producer, the DP. Okay, if it's a flat rate or back end, producer's credit, you need to make sure that you have everything in writing. Sometimes above the line, directors and producers, they will work for a certain amount of money per day or per week. That is something that is gonna be specified in that contract. That way they know how much they're gonna make working for that production for that amount of time, for X amount of time. The same thing with below the line script supervisors, gaffers, etc. If they're gonna work per hour, everything that has to do with the deal, memos, anything that has to do with their contract needs to be in writing. And think about this: if there's nothing in writing, how can you be so sure that they're gonna be they're going to commit to your production? At this point in this era, in this generation, you need to understand that is not a verbal agreement anymore. Even if you go to court, you need to prove that that person commit to work in your production. Let's say that you want to hire in the future Julia Roberts. I'm sure that if you want to have Julia Roberts in your production, you need to have easily at least $20 million just to have Julia Roberts in your production. So if nothing is in writing, how can you start speaking and marketing about marketing a production or film production where you're going to have Julia Roberts where in reality there's nothing in writing that confirms that. So that's the importance of having everything in writing. Okay, the same thing with the writer. You need to have a writer agreement. Okay, um, it is very important that you have all the details. What will be their participation? It's gonna be only you're gonna only hire a writer to fix a script. You're only gonna hire a writer just to create the overall idea. So there are many different types of details that must be in writing so everything runs smoothly and there's no misunderstandings, no animosity, and everything is just well done. Okay, this is part of the business. Okay, releases form. Oh my god, and this is one of the areas that you cannot you know that you cannot make it as something that is not important. It's important, and you have to be very precautious with the documentation of all the people that are going to be in front of the cameras. For locations, you need to specify for how long you're going to rent that location. I know that some of you are planning to shoot in beautiful places, but if you don't have something in writing in a release form that establishes that you rented out that location for a certain amount of time, that date from 5 through 7, whatever is the time that you choose, you're going to run in big trouble. Um, you need to understand that this is, once you start doing this for to make a living, you need to have everything in good standing. So that's something that you never can stop doing. It's something that is extremely important. The releases also will establish how much you have to pay the owner of that location. Is going to also establish how much you're going to pay your crew and cast members. Release forms also, especially when it comes to locations, is gonna establish what's gonna happen if it's if you have a rain date. You need to have all this in writing, and again, this is part of the preparation for you to work as the producer of your own project. I'm not sure if I share with you. I think I did in one of the discussions, but I work as a director, producer, writer of my own thesis film when I was working. I was working in my last project during my master program. So I did a lot of things. It was only three of us working in the master's degree program in this university in Miami. So it's a lot of work, a lot of responsibility. But if you are willing to take that chance to learn and to just have an experience to make it better, the next time, I promise you it's gonna be a good, it's gonna be a good choice. So you always want to make sure that you have everything in good standing, everything in writing. And again, having all these questions and all these planning ahead of time will save you a lot of time, will save you money, and will save you bad experience. Okay, and also a release form is always good to have for locations, because you need to have the permit. What if you show up to a certain place, let's say public beach, and you say to the security guard, you know what, we have this all these crew and cast members, and we're gonna record some scenes of my college project, and you show up with no documentation. How will you think that a security guard is going to open the gates for you for this private public beach, and let's say in Miami, and you don't have nothing in writing that certifies that you actually have a permission to record in that place for 8, 10, 12 hours? That's the benefit of have something in writing with all the details and the signature of the people who allows you or who grants you the opportunity to work in that specific place. The same thing with talent, if you're going to do a sit down interview, all the interview subjects must sign a release form. Any extras and people in the background. Let me tell you something. If you are recording something in a private place, and by any chance you record someone without their authorization, you can get sued. If that person is willing to recognize her or his face on that production, and let's say that there was someone who said a bad comment, and they can feel that that production will damage his or her reputation, showing her or his face without her authorization, or their authorization, you're going to get in trouble. So make sure that every single person in a private place that you're trying to record some good b-roll or some people in the background, make sure, if you can recognize their faces, make sure you get a release form from that person. It's better be safe than sorry. Okay, so all this is something that I'm sharing with you so you don't have the situation in the future. Okay, again, it's better have everything in good standing, and it's better to be well prepared ahead of time before the production comes. Okay, post production, you also need to have and provide agreements to all the post production crew members. You need to pay your editors, the people who's gonna, if you need in your story animators and visual effects, they need to be under contracts. Composers, sound designers, mixers, any person who's gonna work for hire. Ensures the ownership resides with the producer and paid by version. All these people they're going to work in your production. You want to make sure you have an agreement with all of them, and establish what type of agreement you want to establish with them. If it's work for hire or paid by version. And again, one thing about music is that it must be original music. You don't want to get sued because you didn't have the proper rights to showcase or to utilize that music in your production. The same thing with this has to do a lot with licensing. If there's a previous license for that existing music, you can get in trouble. So make sure that you have ownership of all those rights before someone can sue you. I was speaking with one of my coworkers and another professor, and she was sharing with me that there was someone who was using just a background music of this other musician without their authorization, and they sue the company, and this is a very famous company, and they ended up paying this musician 44 grand, $44,000, just because they play his song for a certain amount of time without his consent, without his authorization, and obviously the people who were doing that, they didn't have the license to use and the permission to use that specific song. Okay, so make sure that you do things the right way. In this business, if you do things the right way, you can be very successful, you can make great money, but you need to make sure that you have everything in good standing. Do things the right way. There's a process for everything, and there's a reason for everything. Everything that we have been doing in all this time and working all this time, it has a purpose. Um, Today you can, and this is something that I share with you guys so you can understand how the business work, how this the film industry works. You need to be really good at at taking notes in all these, because this is probably one of the most important aspects of the film industry. The paperwork, because the paperwork is your protection. Okay. I want to finish this training thanking you, of course, for watching, but also, again, I just want to remind you, and this, that you guys, that I like to finish all my trainings with a good quote, and this one was a good one, so I want to share this one with you. It says, "A verbal contract isn't it worth the paper it's written on?" And this is a quote from Samuel Goldwyn. Okay, so make sure that everything that you do from now on is in paper, okay, for your own protection. And if you have everything in paper, I'm going to give you a suggestion. Scan all these documents and have a second backup in your computer. Make sure that you back up all these documents, original documents that are already signed. So you can start making like a virtual archive, a virtual folder with all the release forms or of that specific project. That way, if it rains and you have all your paperwork in a binder and you took that binder by mistake to your production, and you lose all the paperwork or something happens that damage or ruin your paper, you still have that good copy that you scan at the beginning. Okay, so if you have questions, please let me know. I hope you enjoy this presentation, and again, this was a special presentation from Los Angeles Film School. Thank you very much for watching again, and I'll see you shortly. I will see you soon. Good job, by the way, with all the assignments. I am very happy overall. I am very happy with your hard work. So keep it up. Okay? Thank you guys. Bye bye.